Lunalight is not a deck worth playing, at least right now. This statement clearly has a lot of weight to it, as not only is Lunalight still able to compete, but it definitely is competent. However, something being competent and something being the best are two entirely separate things. Lunalight as of right now clearly isn't the best deck, and instead that position would be taken by Spiral. As we can see at the PBG Invitational, 9 of the top 16 duelists were playing Spiral in some way, while Lunalight only took 1 spot. Now, there could be arguments for Lunalight being a better deck. For example, it's a more consistent deck, and another argument is that the ability to farm and rank 4 monsters on the field like Abyss Dweller is incredibly powerful. But ignoring these ideas as well as price, because that isn't the point of this video, Spiral inherently does more with the fewer or same amount of cards. And that is the reason why Spiral is the best deck. It just does the most with the fewest amount of cards, or in other terms, the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be defined as an approximation of the tendency to the least energy state, which this would infer that the easiest path that requires the least amount of energy is the best path. However, when we apply this to Yu-Gi-Oh!, this would vary a bit, as it can either be the path that requires the least amount of cards and gives you the most benefit, or it can be the path that requires the least amount of cards and gives you the most benefit, but also is the most consistent path to take. This theory can be seen for why oftentimes people choose control decks over combo decks, because typically control decks require fewer cards to play and give you more advantage with fewer cards. Additionally, the path of least resistance is also what makes high hand trap counts work alongside with a small enough engine, as if you only need 1 card to play, the rest of your hand can really be whatever you want. An accomplished player who typically follows this theory is Jeff Jones, as stated in an interview with Farfa.
When deck building, I try to build my decks with the concept of using like the path of least resistance, and the less cards you have to use to start playing the game, the more cards you can use to keep your opponent from playing the game.
Granted, there are exceptions to this theory. For example, a combo deck like Danger Thunder Dragon from last year would not follow this theory and instead play with its entire hand to get to its win condition. Because the deck has such a high ceiling, however, and the deck was consistent enough, it would work really well. To give you a perfect example of this theory, let's take this current format and compare Spiral, the current best deck, and Lunalight, the central point of this video. If we look at the combination of Souls plus Quick Fix, this 2-card combo gets you a Spiral Sleeper, a Trigate Wizard co-linked with 3 cards, DD Crow, Spiral Gear Utility Wire, and an Apollosa with 2 or more negates. Clearly, we can agree that this field is incredibly powerful and is insane to accomplish with only 2 cards. Next, when we compare it to Lunalight, you again input 2 cards, those being Chick plus Psyker, and you get a rank 2 and a rank 4. There clearly is a difference between these 2 outcomes, and one has significantly more power versus the other one being more highly accessible. This then all boils down to, do we value consistency more or do we value power more? There are varying degrees of each, but to break it down in the simplest context, Lunalight will essentially do the same thing every game, whereas Spiral may not be able to play every game. This could be a big deterrent for some people, but because Spiral is so powerful comparatively, even if some of the games you don't get to play because of consistency, in return you get games where, because the power level of your deck, or in other terms the ceiling of the deck, is that much higher than your opponent's, you will make up for your losses from consistency because of your high level of power. It's not even that the deck is highly inconsistent. The deck is consistent enough to where it will be able to play enough of the time to win a tournament. So while again the argument to be able to play every game exists, there is also an argument to be had where by prioritizing consistency too heavily, you sacrifice your deck's ceiling, thus making a worse deck in the process. So yes, as of right now, Spiral's a better deck inherently than Lunalight, according to the path of least resistance. There was a time, however, that this wasn't the case, and Lunalight was in fact the best deck. Taking what we know about the path of least resistance, this video can now move to its second act and discuss the time Lunalight's was in its prime, aka while Nightmare Mermaid was legal. Lunalight Orcust was a variant of Orcust that took prominence when the Orcust engine was really getting abused, as Nightmare Mermaid could easily be made with just 2 monsters. As stated with the Path of Least Resistance, because Nightmare Mermaid required such an easy input and gave us such a massive output, any deck that could take advantage of this, which was an insane number of decks, would take advantage of this, and one of them was Lunalight. Now, when comparing Lunalight to other variants, what Lunalight provided over any other Orcust variant at the time was the highest ceiling in the format. A deck like Cyber Dragon Orcust took prominence in the format because of its easy ability to go second and was very resilient to disruption. That deck would only need 2 to 3 cards to play, and clearly it was a popular enough strategy to be successful. This, however, would be a very reminiscent scenario of what I just explained in the first part of this video, that being the Path of Least Resistance. Sure, this combo was very resilient, but it didn't do nearly as much as a deck like Lunalight Orcust. Comparably to the other example, Lunalight Orcust would end on Orcust combo and a rank 4, but with one more input of, for example, any danger monster, which wasn't hard to accomplish at all, your end board becomes significantly more oppressive, and at best would end on a Griffin setting any spell or trap, for example Imperial Order, a Galatea with a live Crescendo, a Dingirsu protecting your entire field, and a rank 4 like Abyss Dweller. Clearly there is a drastic difference, and because Lunalight Orcust had such a higher ceiling, it would be considered the best deck. Even if the representation doesn't show this, it didn't seem people caught on to the fact that this deck was so good until after it won 3 YCS's that format. After the success, we would see the ban of Nightmare Mermaid in the October 2019 ban list, which leads to the third part of this video, Lunalight after Nightmare Mermaid. We would see it adapt by using Curious, an Orcust enabler, instead of dumping a Floodgate for Griffin. Because of this, the deck would not only require more resources to perform the standard combo, raising the resource input, but additionally this would reduce the ceiling of this deck. The biggest problem with this deck was how the ceiling just wasn't high enough for the amount of input required as per the standard of that format. When we look at other decks that format, like Pure Orcust, one Armageddon Knight could send Harpour and end you with 2 disruptions in the form of IP Masquerena and Dingirsu sending a card. However, this would also grant you multiple follow-ups in the form of an Orcust Harpour and an Orcust Nightmare in the graveyard. The difference was now that this 1-card combo deck gained so much advantage off of 1 card that the 2 and usually more cards required for Lunalight Orcust just wasn't as practical comparatively. So just recently, we got Time Thief Perpetua, which I admittedly think is an amazing card because of how much it gives you if you pair it with Time Thief Redoer, which in a deck like Lunalight's is really easy to accomplish. While this card does raise the ceiling of Lunalight, it still isn't quite enough comparatively to Spiral. What made Lunalight so good as a combo deck was the consistent and oppressive 2-card combo. However, when another deck is better at following the Path of Least Resistance and does more for less, it's hard to argue that people won't gravitate to that deck considering how true this theory really is. Can Lunalights play more hand traps? Yes. Are they more consistent? Yes, but the ceiling of the deck just isn't comparable. And with all this in mind, Spiral is the better deck as of right now. So when talking about what ruined Lunalight, as the title states, it's not necessarily that they're a bad deck, because clearly this isn't the case. What ruined Lunalight, however, was its inability to compete with the rest of the metagame and follow the Path of Least Resistance the best. If something comes out in the future, then that could change this argument. But considering everything I've explained in this video, and what's currently in the card pool along with future releases, it doesn't seem like this is going to change anytime soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I went deeper into the quote-unquote video essay format than I usually do, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. If you guys enjoyed this style a lot, maybe I'll make it the norm. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date for when new videos come out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I hope to see you soon.